This program has been updated with an additional section to reflect the changes in 46 CFR Part 4. These revisions to the regulation are effective June 20th, 2006, and require modification to post-accident drug and alcohol testing procedures. Our thanks to Canal Barge Company and West Kentucky Drug and Alcohol Screen Specialists for their cooperation in producing these revisions.
Moxie Media presents Drug and Alcohol Awareness for the Maritime Employee. 5 crew members and 72 passengers on board the George Prince Ferry lost their lives in the Mississippi River when a collision occurred between the ferry and a Norwegian tanker. The evidence concluded that the pilot of the George Prince was not in full control of his faculties due to his blood alcohol level and his failure to note the oncoming presence of the tanker. The oil tanker Exxon Valdez struck Blight Reef in Prince William Sound, Alaska, creating a pollution disaster unparalleled in United States history. Spilling more than 11 million gallons of crude oil, an estimated 1,000 miles of shoreline was devastated, delivering a potentially fatal blow to the delicate food chain, including wildlife such as birds, fish, and mammals. The National Transportation Safety Board determined that the probable cause of the accident was the failure of the ship's captain to provide a proper navigation watch because of impairment from alcohol. The Trans-Southern, a 95-foot offshore supply vessel traveling at 18 knots and bound for an oil rig to pick up crew and supplies, slammed into a jetty on the Texas coast. When Coast Guard officials arrived on the scene, the captain was impaired with a blood alcohol level of .097. By 1988, the United States Coast Guard took the first steps to improving safety within the maritime industry by establishing regulations which called for drug and alcohol testing of marine crew members in safety-sensitive positions. Module 1. Drugs and Alcohol Impede Health and Work Performance. Moxie Media presents this program to provide maritime employees and contractors with up-to-date information on how drugs and alcohol affect not only health and well-being, but work performance as well. When you are employed to work as a crew member or contractor on board a United States flagship vessel, you should be aware that the use of illegal drugs at any time, whether on board the vessel or off, is strictly forbidden. In addition, the use of alcohol is not tolerated aboard any vessel at any time. This rule applies to all personnel aboard United States flagships such as offshore service vessels, towboats, tugs, passenger vessels, and mobile offshore oil rigs. The rule is supported by your company's drug and alcohol policy and strictly enforced by the United States Coast Guard. Coast Guard regulations require crew members in safety-sensitive positions to be drug tested for marijuana, cocaine, PCP, amphetamines, opiates, and alcohol. In the next module, we will discuss how and when drug testing is required. But first, let's examine these drugs and understand how they affect health and work performance. Grass, weed, pot, or reefer, whatever the name, marijuana is often thought of as a recreational drug with no harmful side effects. However, marijuana contains known toxins and cancer-causing chemicals which are stored in fat cells for as long as 2 months. Marijuana smokers experience the same health problems as tobacco smokers, such as bronchitis, emphysema, and bronchial asthma. Documented cases show when marijuana is smoked daily or even weekly over a period of time, users can become psychologically addicted to the drug. With continued use, users tend to develop short-term memory problems and feelings of paranoia, which are often quite severe. Marijuana affects the brain in a very specific way. THC, which is the main mind-altering chemical in marijuana, widens the gaps between nerve cells, causing a decrease in the transmission of impulses. That's why users appear laid back with brief total dropouts in reaction time. Lingering effects include decreased coordination, lowered reaction time, and impaired vision, all vital functions required to maintain a safe vessel. Cocaine is a highly addictive drug, so powerful that laboratory test animals will self-administer the drug continuously until they die. In addition to being addictive, cocaine poses a very high health risk. Even first-time users have been known to experience seizures and respiratory difficulties. When cocaine is ingested, blood vessels tighten, making the heart work harder and faster. This can lead to heart attacks even in young, healthy individuals. After a cocaine high, users often experience severe feelings of depression, followed by a strong craving for more of the drug. This preoccupation or constant craving for cocaine negatively alters interpersonal skills, affecting the safety and efficiency of work performance. Users under the influence of cocaine tend to work longer than is necessary or even safe. Crack is a more purified form of cocaine and is classified by most experts as the most addictive drug ever sold on the streets. First-time users of crack are usually unaware of the extremely addictive properties of the drug, often slipping into the dependency of drug addiction. It's not just the nightmare of addiction the user lives with, but also the detrimental effects crack starts to wage on the user's mind and body. When crack is smoked, it can leave a user gasping for breath and vulnerable to bronchitis and emphysema over the long term. Crack also plays havoc with the cardiovascular system. Blood vessels rapidly constrict, causing increased levels in blood pressure. The possibility of heart attacks, convulsions, and strokes increase dramatically. Like cocaine, someone under the influence of crack is more likely to focus on getting the next fix rather than concentrating on the duties at hand. Opiates, also called narcotics, are depressant drugs that slow down the body's vital functions, producing a trance-like state. Sold illegally on the streets, heroin is the leading cause of narcotic addiction in the United States. Frequently, heroin is injected with needles that have not been sterilized. This has contributed to the spread of infectious diseases like AIDS and hepatitis III. According to the Center for Disease Control, intravenous drug users account for 33% of all new AIDS cases. Typically, heroin induces effects ranging from sedation to anesthesia. Any crew member under the influence of the drug would have a difficult time performing even simple crew duties. Amphetamines, often called speed, were first prescribed as appetite suppressants until it was discovered that repeated use can lead to serious psychological dependency and severe depression upon cessation of use. Most amphetamines today are made synthetically in unsafe, illegal labs. The effects of the drug stimulate the central nervous system, causing users to feel energetic and in control. Abuse has been documented among workers who often must work during prolonged periods or graveyard shifts. The danger of stimulants is that the drug creates a false sense of energy and control, causing users to work way beyond their normal physical endurance, which can often lead to accidents. PCP, or phencyclidine, also known as angel dust, is an extremely dangerous and potent drug because it has stimulant, depressant, hallucinogenic, and analgesic properties. Which of these properties will be most pronounced is unpredictable and depends on the user's personality, psychological state, and the setting at the time of use. Users experience mood swings from passive to violent for no apparent reason. PCP renders a user dysfunctional for periods lasting up to several days. The effects include hallucinations, severe paranoia, and loss of the ability to sense impending danger or even pain. Alcohol is the most abused legal drug in the world. The National Institute on Drug Abuse estimates 1 in every 10 people in our society suffer from some degree of alcoholism. As socially acceptable as alcohol is, most people don't realize the toll it takes on a person's body. A healthy liver can oxidize approximately 1 ounce of alcohol per hour. If more than 1 ounce of alcohol is consumed, the alcohol level in the blood increases faster than the liver can process it. Only about 5% of alcohol consumed can be excreted through urine or sweat. The body has to metabolize the remaining 95%, resulting in the well-known symptoms of a hangover, including headaches, nausea, fatigue, and nervousness. This is the body's process of ridding itself of toxic poisons. Nothing can be done to speed up the body's elimination process, regardless of the myths of sobering up with cold showers or black coffee. The level of alcohol present in a drinker's blood, known as the blood alcohol content, depends on the amount consumed in a given time, the drinker's weight, and the amount of food in the stomach. As a general rule, it takes 1 hour per ounce of alcohol for your body to metabolize the drug. 1 ounce of alcohol is equal to a 12-ounce beer or an 8-ounce glass of wine. The more drinks you have, the longer it will take to rid your body of the toxins. Any crew member who has to drive several hours before getting to an assignment should think twice about having a beer or two. Alcohol consumption right before you start a hitch is illegal. Any amount of alcohol in your blood may lead to dismissal. In addition, drinking and driving results in approximately 25,000 deaths a year. In a maritime work environment, your safety and your life often relies on your crewmates working at peak performance with full attention to the job at hand. For that reason, if you know or suspect a coworker of using drugs or alcohol, don't turn your back by ignoring the problem. Report the knowledge in confidence to your supervisor. Everyone stands to benefit. You will be doing a friend a favor as well as safeguarding the safety of your vessel. It is proven that the most effective way to help someone using drugs or alcohol is through identification of the problem and subsequent treatment. Module 2 of this program is to help you understand your company's drug testing policy based on the Coast Guard's drug testing regulations. As we learned in Module 1, the illegal drugs you may be tested for include marijuana, cocaine, PCP, amphetamines, opiates, and in some cases the drug alcohol. Whenever a Coast Guard license, certificate of registry, or merchant mariner's document is required by at least one person on board a vessel, then the person requiring the license or document, along with certain safety-related crew members, will be subject to drug testing. Safe operations means anytime you navigate, steer, direct, manage, or sail a vessel. Also, anytime you control, monitor, or maintain the vessel's main or auxiliary equipment or systems, including deck machinery, as well as mooring, anchoring, handling fuel or cargo, making and breaking tows, and maintaining the stability or watertight integrity of the vessel. Crew members who warn, muster, assemble, assist, or control the movement of passengers during emergencies are also subject to drug testing regulations. The regulations also apply to cooks, bartenders, and waiters or waitresses if during an emergency they have to assist passengers by any means. Under Coast Guard regulations, there are 5 separate situations that require drug testing. The first is pre-employment testing. Crew members or contractors who are hired on a full-time or temporary basis, whether for a day or longer, must be tested before assuming duty. The exception to that rule is if an applicant for employment has proof that within the previous 6 months he or she has passed a pre-employment or periodic test, or has during the previous 12 months been subject to random testing and has not failed or refused a test. The second situation involves periodic testing. Periodic testing applies to employees who have tested positive in the past but have returned to work. Follow-up testing can continue for up to 60 months as determined by your company's designated medical review officer. Medical review officers are licensed physicians with knowledge of substance abuse. It is up to them to determine whether or not an employee is drug-free and can return to work. Periodic testing also applies to individual mariners whenever they are involved in transactions such as an initial application or renewal process for Coast Guard licenses, certificate of registry, or a merchant mariner's document. It is the responsibility of the individual mariner to obtain the drug test. Random testing is the third situation. Your marine employer has established a program of random drug testing for those who perform duties related to the safe operation of the vessel as described earlier. This testing is done to prevent abuse and to identify abusers. Coast Guard regulations require that a minimum of 50% of applicable crew members be randomly tested each year. There is no single preferred method by which random testing is achieved. Many companies have drug testing programs which choose employees at random by computer. Once you are randomly selected, you will be required to appear at a specified collection site, or a collector may come on board if you are on duty and conduct the test. The fourth situation is reasonable cause testing. If your supervisor or ship's master suspects you may be using drugs or alcohol on the job, they can require you to take a drug or alcohol test. Suspicion is based soundly on your supervisor's knowledge of the physical, behavioral, and performance indicators of probable drug use. If you think reasonable suspicion is a violation of your privacy, you're wrong. The prevailing court opinions indicate that an employee's civil rights do not extend to areas where public safety and welfare are involved. The fifth and last situation for testing is post-accident testing, when a serious marine accident or incident occurs. A serious marine incident is defined by the Coast Guard as an oil discharge of 10,000 gallons or more into the navigable waters of the United States, or the discharge of any hazardous substance into the navigable waters or environment. Examples of serious marine accidents include one or more deaths, an injury to any person, including passengers, which requires medical attention beyond first aid, damage to property in excess of $100,000, actual or constructive loss of any inspected or uninspected self-propelled vessel of 100 gross tons or more.
What we have seen, though, recently is that companies, regardless of the size of accident, are going ahead and testing their personnel, mainly to protect themselves and also for insurance liability purposes.
All persons, not just crew members, whom your company determines were directly involved in a serious incident or accident, must be tested not only for drugs, but alcohol as well.
If the Coast Guard investigator gets on scene and they're going through their investigation and they feel that there's an additional person that was involved in this accident that the employer did not realize was involved, the Coast Guard investigator will certainly let that employer know that this person also needs to be tested.
All identified persons will then be tested as soon as possible. For that reason, urine collection kits are often maintained aboard vessels. Although you are not required to take an alcohol test for pre-employment, periodic, or random drug test, it is required for reasonable cause and always for a serious marine accident or incident.
The following changes in 46 CFR Part 4 will affect commercial vessel operators regarding post-accident drug and alcohol testing requirements. It is important that all vessel owners and operators familiarize themselves with the new chemical testing requirements. These revisions to the regulations are effective June 20, 2006. These changes apply to chemical testing requirements following a serious marine incident, or SMI, and specifically require that alcohol testing will be required within 2 hours of an SMI. Most commercial vessels will be required to carry alcohol testing devices on board, and the collection of drug specimens will be required within 32 hours. The revision in the regulations require the Coast Guard to establish procedures to ensure that alcohol testing is conducted on all individuals involved in an SMI within 2 hours of its occurrence. In the event safety concerns related to the SMI preclude the testing within 2 hours, testing must be conducted as soon as possible, but no later than 8 hours following the incident. To ensure testing is conducted in accordance with the time requirements, all commercial vessels must carry alcohol testing devices on board, unless the vessel's operating area allows a vessel to reach shoreside testing facilities within the 2-hour period. Approved evidential breath testing devices, commonly referred to as breathalyzers, or alcohol saliva strip screening devices, which test by sampling saliva specimens, may be used to conduct alcohol testing when required. Personnel responsible for testing should be trained in the proper use of the specific testing equipment used when conducting alcohol tests. In addition, with regard to the collection of drug testing specimens, a marine employer must collect specimens of each individual engaged or employed aboard the vessel who is directly involved in a serious marine incident within 32 hours of when the SMI occurred. If precluded from collecting drug test specimens in this time frame due to safety concerns, then specimens must be collected as soon as safety concerns are addressed. The determination of which individuals are directly involved in a serious marine incident is to be made by the marine employer. A law enforcement officer may determine that additional individuals are directly involved in the SMI. In such cases, the marine employer shall take all practicable steps to have these additional individuals tested. If post-accident testing is required, it must be reported to the Coast Guard on Form CG 2692B, which has also been revised to accommodate the revisions in the regulations. The revised CG 2692B provides additional space to report saliva specimen alcohol testing and verification of testing within the revised time allotment. The remark section in Block 22 of the revised form should be used to report the duties of each individual directly involved in the serious marine incident and required to be tested for drugs and alcohol. Individuals refusing to provide the required specimens. Specimens that are not obtained or obtained beyond the required time frame, and an explanation of the circumstances for unobtained or late specimens. If you have any questions regarding these new testing requirements, contact your port captain or supervisor.
Testing is conducted by a qualified collector. The collector has been trained in urine specimen collection procedures. In special situations where a collector is not available, such as aboard a ship at sea, then the supervisor or captain will act as the collector.
Once it's announced that there is a drug screen to be conducted, anyone that refuses to take the test at that time is then reported. The collector is to report that to the immediate supervisor or to the safety professional that's in charge of their program, stating that this person is refusing to take the test, they don't wish to participate. We cannot force anyone to participate in the test, but under the Coast Guard rule, it is considered a positive test result.
Before proceeding with the drug test, you will be asked to remove all extra outer garments and then leave behind all personal items except your wallet. The collector will then check your photo identification to assure there is no mix-up.
When you're starting to do the drug collection, you're dealing with a man's career, his livelihood. You want to make sure that it's done professionally and accurate to the standards of the DOT, because we don't look for any mistakes, and we preclude the mistakes or exclude the mistakes by doing a professional collection.
Before providing a urine specimen, you will wash and dry your hands thoroughly. At that point, all chemicals will be removed from the bathroom area. Any source of water from the faucets to the shower head will be taped or monitored to ensure they are not being used to dilute the specimen. In most cases, a bluing agent will be placed in the toilet tank to deter dilution of the specimen. Once you provide your urine sample, the initial transfer in the chain of custody is from you to the collector. The collector then checks the amount, which must be at least 30 milliliters, and then measures the temperature. A custody and control form to indicate receipt of your sample is prepared. Each form is pre-printed with the specimen identification number. To ensure accuracy of the test, You will sign a certification that states that the specimen was provided by you and that it is in a container that was sealed in your presence and marked with a number identical to the ID number on the custody form. A copy of the custody and control form is then sent with your specimen to the testing laboratory. Analysis is done in laboratories certified by the Department of Health and Human Services. These labs are regularly monitored to ensure quality control. As an extra safeguard, prior to reporting the test results to your employer, your company's designated medical review officer reviews the test results from the lab. A positive test report from the lab does not automatically identify you as a user of dangerous drugs. The MRO will set up an interview and review your health records to determine if other substances, such as prescription drugs, could have contributed to the positive test result. If you hold a Coast Guard license, COR, or MMD as a Marine employee or contractor and test positive, your employer, under the regulations, must report the positive test result to the Coast Guard Marine Inspector Officer.
Once he tests positive, the Coast Guard considers him a user of drugs and does not want to leave that endorsement with him. The Coast Guard seeks revocation to take away his license for good. With suspension and revocation proceedings, they are remedial in nature. We're trying to resolve a problem, whether it be taking a person that's on drugs off the water, making the water a safer place, or if we can get that individual to come forward and sign a joint motion, is what we call it. Basically, it's a pre-hearing agreement where they say, okay, Coast Guard, here's my license, here's my document. I won't go back to work on the water until I'm cured. At that, they go off and they go to a drug treatment facility. They go through rehab, and upon completion of rehab, they have to prove 1 year non-association with drugs through going to regular scheduled meetings and going through random drug testing.
If you are a non-licensed crew member working in a safety-sensitive position and test positive, you will be removed from duty. Depending on your company's drug policy or labor management agreements, you will either be terminated or, in some special circumstances, referred to a treatment facility through your company's employee assistance program. However, you should know your employer, under the regulations, is not required to provide you with rehabilitation, pay for your treatment, or reinstate you in your position.
Safety is an important factor, and that drug and alcohol testing is a major part of that program.
There are enormous benefits for employees who steer clear of drugs and alcohol in the marine work environment, and tremendous downsides to those who play Russian roulette and choose to illegally partake. The benefits of a drug-free workplace include job security, increased productivity, promotional opportunities, higher salaries, low absenteeism, reduced accidents, low insurance premium, and good physical and mental health. And what are the benefits of a drug user? Loss of employment and Coast Guard license, poor health and the possibility that your actions could lead to an environmental disaster or death of countless crew members and passengers. Play it smart. Make the right choice, a drug-free one.